in 6 minutes starts now.
Good luck today in court. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump tweeted that to Michael Flynn, the national security advisor he fired last year, will be sentenced this morning for lying to the FBI. Fox's Rachel Sutherland, live in Washington.
Dave, the special counsel's office has recommended no jail time for Flynn, citing extensive cooperation in the Russia probe. His attorneys have asked for a year probation maximum. Flynn's attorneys have said the FBI entrapped him into lying to agents during an interview in January 2017 and have asked D.C. District Court Judge Emmett Sullivan to take the circumstances of that interview into consideration. That prompted a response from Robert Mueller, who wrote the former Army general chose to lie. Dave.
Rachel, former FBI Director James Comey called President Trump a liar after he spent another day being questioned in private by 2 House committees, and Comey tells Republicans,
at some point, someone has to stand up and in the face of fear of Fox News, fear of their base, fear of mean tweets, stand up for the values of this country.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders tweeted Republicans should stand up to Comey's corruption and lying and leaking. Now, the president also this morning is urging the Fed in a tweet not to raise interest rates this week. The Senate Intel Committee has released reports showing Russians used social media to spread disinformation before the 2016 election, more than first thoughts.
The Kremlin saying the Russian government hasn't had anything to do with any kind of interference. The reports say a Russian government agency placed messages on social media aimed at deepening divisions in US society, including stoking right-wing anger and attempting to discourage black voters from going to the polls in the hope of helping President Trump's campaign.
Fox's Simon Owen. Chicago police have a person in custody the day after 2 officers were killed while running after a suspect, responding to reports of shots fired. They were hit by a train. Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
Lost 2 young men, both fathers, young families. This holiday never be the same.
This is Fox News.
When you buy a new Ford F-Series truck during our holiday sales event, you're not just buying a truck. You're sending a message to the world that says, yeah, I can help. Because now you're the friend with the Ford truck. You'll move coworkers, haul lumber, and build everything from tree houses to Serenity sheds. Now you're the one everyone counts on, and you wouldn't have it any other way. Ford F-Series, built for the holidays. Built Ford proud.
And now for a limited time, you can bring home a new F-150 with 0% financing for 72 months, only at your Ford dealer. Not all buyers will qualify for Ford Credit Financing. 72 months at $1,389 per month per $1,000 financed, regardless of down payment, is available on 18 model year F-150. Excludes Raptor. For all offers, take new retail delivery from an authorized Ford dealer stock by 1/2/19. See dealer or go to buyfordnow.com for qualifications and complete details.
The California farm where an E. coli outbreak caused a mass recall of romaine lettuce is now recalling red and green leaf lettuce and cauliflower. They say while none of their samples has tested positive for E. coli, they're making the recall out of an abundance of caution. 6 businesses out of 146 that applied have been selected by the Murphy administration to apply for permits to open new medical marijuana facilities. Ken Wolski with the Coalition for Medical Marijuana says it'll help improve the available supply and hopefully the cost.
We're very happy that the Department of Health has expanded the medicinal marijuana program. Certainly in need of some new blood in the industry.
The dispensaries will be opened around the state, including Atlantic City and Vineland, but a timeline won't be announced until early next year. New Jersey is considering renewing financial subsidies to our horse racing industry. Former Governor Christie ended state support 7 years ago. Governor Murphy wants a new $100 million subsidy to boost prize money at Monmouth Park, Freehold Raceway, and the Meadowlands. I'm Eric Scott. This is the Town Square News Network.
That wicked wind will continue to blow for at least the first half of today, with gusts to 35 miles an hour this morning. It's going to be chilly, although sunny today. Afternoon temperatures right around 40 degrees. The wind dies down tonight. It'll be clear and cold. Look for lows in the lower 20s. Partly sunny and seasonable tomorrow. Not a bad day. Highs in the mid-40s. Thursday, increasing clouds leading to some late-day rain showers. Temperatures upper 40s, rising Thursday night. Friday looks wet. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to announce Chuck Malamut is here, the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. And this program is presented and sponsored by Chuck Malamut each week at this hour. Chuck is a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck and do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast, subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. Pocket Kreskin says, good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, Harry. Good morning, Kirk.
How you doing, man?
I'm great. Good hour.
I
learned a lot. I learned a lot about diversity, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Big fan.
But, you know, what the interesting thing here is that, you know, the markets, as we know them, have become we talked about it last week. The volatility is certainly over the top at this point in time. I mean, every day, you know, 200, 300, 400-point moves, plus or minus, and for the most part, unfortunately, you know, they've been working in the wrong direction, and we are now, you know, hitting 52-week lows across, you know, most sectors and a lot of individual companies within those sectors. And the argument still is out there: are we entering a bear market, or is this sort of a pause that, you know, in that long-standing, you know, 10-year plus bull market? So, you know, if you take a look at last week, you know, global equities, all markets were off, had disappointing data coming out of Japan, China, and Europe. And again, that slowdown fear is out there. It's not just, you know, I think oftentimes we get very, very focused on what happens here domestically, and we oftentimes lose sight of what goes on outside of this country. But as good as things are here, they're not so good, particularly in parts of, you know, parts of Europe, as for instance. So European politics at its finest moment, you know, with Brexit.
But does European politics have anything to do with what's going on? Isn't this really
I think,
trade in China and some of this other stuff that's going on right now?
Well, I think what's happening here is that everyone is still trying to get to the same side of the boat together. And I know that you and Kirk talked about, we'll get in this in a few minutes, about interest rates, but you know what is happening here, all the news flow, all the good news flow gets ignored, and all the bad news flow, you know, takes center stage, and then, you know, it gets ramped up where, you sort of take a story and exponentially it grows.
But let me press you on this, because I know I would be Kreskin if we knew the answer to this, but I don't understand how all this geopolitical stuff, we used to come on and say, none of it matters. The markets are roaring. It doesn't care. No matter what was coming out, nothing mattered. Now every little nothing burger is now amplified to the max.
What is happening here, and we've seen this, you know, time in and time out, you know, the markets have a tendency to overshoot in either direction. If you remember 2017, everybody was giddy. Everything was easy. Yeah. We had no volatility. I think we had less than 8 days where the indexes moved plus or minus 1%.
Amazing.
The average, if you recall, we talked about this not too long ago, it's on an average trading year is about 62 days of the 250 trading days that you are moving plus or minus 1%.
We had more than that this year.
What is happening, we're in the 80-day range now. What is happening now is every day we are moving plus or minus 1%, as evidenced. And how do you think about this? As simple as putting your show preparation to work. You know, typically I'll spend a fair amount of time over the weekend, you know, putting everything together in an effort to be prepared to talk to you and to your listeners with respect to the market. But now with all the heightened volatility, I am focusing now not just over the past week, but I'm looking at what happened yesterday, because I think it would be terribly unfair. if we said, okay, what happened as of last Friday? Because, if you take a look at yesterday, for instance, we got off to a reasonably decent start. The markets, in fact, did rally. I mean, I remember one point in time, talking with Mike, and I said, Mike, look at this. Hey, this is, pretty encouraging. You're looking at the screen, and 3/4 of what we're tracking is all in the green, and then within a matter of minutes, it turned, and then it just, for the rest of the day, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, it just moved in the wrong direction. So the S&P yesterday was off 54 points, 2%, closed at 2546. I'm not going to profess to be a technician, but the number that they were looking to hold was 2,600, which we penetrated through that. Now all talks are 2,525 and 2,500. The Dow Jones was off 500 points, another 2%, and the NASDAQ actually was the worst of the three, and it was during the day was the best of the three. It was down 2.3%. So, the bears are certainly, they seem to be out there, and December has typically been a good month, and we're running out of time. I mean, you think about it, we don't
why today though, on the day the Fed starts their 2-day meeting, and I know the Fed is actually the fourth item on our agenda, not the first, but why today are all the pre-markets saying that we're going to open up 250? I mean, what? Well,
Harry, you have that happens
because of the sell-off.
No, that happens a lot. The markets, plus or minus one direction, pre-market, and volume early on in the day is very thin. It then becomes heavier as you get to the open, and then after the open, anything happens. So, it sort of sets the tone, but it's what we've seen in the last month or two. It doesn't give any long-term indication. And when I say long-term meaning for the day, when we closed yesterday, we pulled back to the lowest levels of the year. So, and it didn't. There were no explicit catalysts that happened. It was, concern about ongoing. We've had these discussions before: slow global growth, tightening financial conditions. I know, Kirk, you said at the end of the last hour that the Fed shouldn't raise rates. I mean, we'll get into that in a second. I think there's a pretty high probability it's going to be happening. But the fact that, they're reducing their balance sheet is tightening onto itself as well. So you have sort of a double.
And the trade war with China.
Well, and then you have, but then you have, a lot of these discussions, and they're all politically minded. I mean, whether it's China, whether it's Brexit, and the fact, so right now, there's nothing being reported. I mean, there's a few companies like Oracle last night at the close, after the close, beat their number. I think Boeing came in, increasing their dividend 20% and increased their stock buyback. So you get these independent, news items that will help the market one way or another. But
and I know I'm jumping ahead because I keep bringing up the Fed, but if we didn't have the Fed, nobody would be raising interest rates right now. Why?
Well, nobody is raising interest rates.
I think they're going to raise it tomorrow.
Well, there's a why don't we? Well, yeah, there's a 70% probability that's going to in fact happen. And I think that putting that aside for a minute, and if you take a look for. All right, let's talk about the Fed for a second. It's not so much the 25 basis points that I think the market is all amped up about. Because think about if they kind of broadcast this, at the last meeting and at the meeting minutes, and everyone is sitting here with the expectation that that rates are going to increase. The big, the boogeyman, so to speak, in the room here is, going forward, when they make the statement, are they going to, when they throw it out there, are they going to, are they going to be dovish or are they going to be hawkish? And are they going to, they can't say how many times they anticipate increasing rates, but, as not too long ago, 6 months ago, there was the thought process they were going to go 4 times in 2019. Now,
I thought they don't say.
Now the projection, now the projections are they're going to go maybe twice, and I've heard it as recently as last night zero.
Well, good.
Zero, and actually decreasing
good.
rates. Now,
see, this is my turn now, layperson, because I just think logically, not like these people that almost act like they're not affected by what they do. If circumstances change, I think that you have to change what you thought you were going to do. If you're any household in America, if you're ready to build an addition and a swimming pool and all kinds of stuff, but somebody got sick or somebody lost their job, well, guess what? We can't do that right now. Things are a little different now than when they were just 25 basis points every meeting, where I think they need to slow down.
Well, things are a little bit different, and in particular, if you take a look at housing and housing starts, with increased interest rates, and the money supply, quote, being tighter than it typically has been in the past, people are not, housing starts are less than expected. So the consumer is back in action. I mean, and there's no doubt about it. If you take a look at what the consumer did, so far in this holiday season, I think you would be pleasantly pleased to find out that consumers have spent $80 billion, Harry, shopping online from the beginning of November to December 6th. Now, that's up 18.6% from a period a year ago.
Is that built into a good year that was happening and people had planned on it and they went about it, and that people are starting to feel different now? I mean, this is a little, tough to measure.
The expectation is when it's all said and done for the holiday season, shopping season, that they'll probably increase about 15% year over year. But remember, the consumer a lot of times makes plans in advance, goes out and spends, and really doesn't spend a lot of time paying attention to what goes on in the day-to-day equity markets. There's as I said to you before, there's just a lot of people, institutions, hedge funds, individual investors, all trying to get to the same side of the boat together. And it's not typically a good conclusion, and what this market needs right now, and we're not seeing this, because everybody is saying, well, it's a bear market, the end is near, we're not going to rally, it's impossible. The market needs a catalyst. The market needs a Warren Buffett to step up and say, I've been accumulating stocks over this period for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Warren Buffett's quote, I think, is just amazing. Be greedy when everyone else is fearful. Okay.
Well, it's like President Trump buying real estate when real estate was down.
Be fearful when everyone is greedy. Yeah. So so you think about
he's the contrarian.
So I wouldn't be. I don't know Warren Buffett. I wish I did. I wish I had an opportunity to meet the man. But he's obviously a genius.
The Oracle of Omaha.
And there's been all kinds of case studies written about him. And the fact of the matter is, the guy, he's an absolute genius.
Got a break. I don't want to stop your momentum because you're on a roll. He is Chuck Malamut. This is all about your financial matters with Chuck Malamut. This portion of our program also brought to us by Congress Hall at 200 Congress Place at Beach Avenue. Very fresh in my mind. We were there just last weekend, and we'll be there within the next week again. Overnight stay this time. It was a day trip last time. Everything I tell you about, we discovered. The magical winter wonderland. All the neat things, the hot chocolate by the vendors and the different 20 shops that are all built right on the Great Lawn, right by the swimming pool. You can take a ride on the Congress Hall Express. It's right there on the lawn, and it goes all around the property. And remember, when you make a reservation, there's some great things happening. You can do so either by going to congresshall.com, dialing 888-944-1816, and there's a special Winter Wonderland website as well, winterwonderlandcapemay.com, and all kinds of neat things are happening now through December 31st. Congress Hall, 200 Congress Place at Beach Avenue. Tell them that Hurley in the Morning sent you. With Chuck Malamut, I am.
Hurley in the Morning, WPG Talk Radio 104.1, and on the WPG Talk Radio app.
How do you describe fun? Is it relaxing by the beach year-round at Landshark Bar and Grill? Is it a hot streak followed by frozen drinks at Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville? Is it award-winning gourmet dining and live music and over 800 new slots and all the above? Find your fun at Resorts Casino Hotel, a Mohegan Sun property in Atlantic City. And with over $100 million in new renovations, there's more fun than ever. Get started at resortsac.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Paul D'Amato.
Harry Hurley.
Paul, I know our listeners want to know what's new with the D'Amato Law Firm.
Things are great, Harry. We are so privileged to represent our clients whose lives have been turned upside down because they were involved in a serious accident. We meet on a regular basis. We copy our clients on all our correspondence so they always know what's going on with their case. We try to treat them like family. We have Alexa here, my daughter. I'm so happy that she's here. We have Steve Van Natten and Casey Gifford. We're a great legal team.
They're the D'Amato Law Firm for all of your personal injury legal needs. Turn to the official lead counsel to the Hurley in the Morning program for more than a quarter of a century. The D'Amato Law Firm in Egg Harbor Township, 609-926-3300. That's 609-926-3300. Tell Paul, Alexa, Sandy, the entire team that Hurley in the Morning sent you.
This is EHT's Talk Station, WPG Talk Radio 104.1 and WPGTalkRadio.com.
We're back 21 minutes past the hour. We're right where we want to be with Chuck Malamut, all about your financial matters. Chuck is the managing director. He leads the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office for all of your financial planning needs. Dial 609-383-2010. All right, I jumped ahead to the Fed, and you were very accommodating, Chuck. Did you mention jobless claims? Because this is good news, right?
Yeah. So the market was clearly surprised because when jobless claims go up, as you know, that is a sign of the economy, slowing down. So what has happened is economists were looking to, and they became very concerned as claims have been edging higher over the past several months. However, this past week there was a decline to about 206,000, and that's close to the 49-year low. 49 years, Harry, 50 years.
Beautiful. Of
202,000 was posted in mid-September. So you think about that, jobless claims are dropping. And that's obviously a good sign. In the meantime, retail sales, were up 0.2% in November. That was expected. Industrial production rose more than expected, 0.6%. This weekly report that we get with respect to jobless claims sort of goes completely against the fact that we're going to end up in a recession.
And that's going to be our 12th item. I can't wait till we get to that. We're going to get all these items in, Chuck. Here's one that I would love you to talk about and see if it has any bearing. I don't think it should, because 75% of the government is fully funded. This would be 25% of the government. And anything that's essential, that's life-threatening, they have to work anyhow and then get paid later because they have positions that are considered essential. I mean, I'm not it's terrible. But it's true. I mean, so TSA will work because obviously a record number of people are going to fly and all of that. So that will all happen. Does the partial United States government shutdown have any bearing right now on financial markets?
Not really. I mean, I heard you in the 6 o'clock hour, Harry, and I think you hit it. You hit it dead perfect. That 25% of the U.S. government is going to potentially run out of funding. The president insists he's not going to sign. Unless they include $5 billion, to fund the border wall.
So he'll own a shutdown, partial shutdown.
Yeah, it's going to be. Look, it's going to be his shutdown. I mean,
right before Christmas.
Yeah, he's going to be Scrooge. So you think about it. 2-week extension, funding extension was put into place on December 7th. So another temporary measure could be put in place, on the 21st.
Yeah, I would personally do that because I think, even though it's a partial government shutdown and 3/4 of the government's fully funded, it'll just be called a shutdown, and it'll be 4 days before Christmas. I would do a temporary measure.
Well, the other thing to consider is as you know, January 3rd is a big day.
Of course.
The Congress is sworn in. The makeup of the House is going to be different. Under Democratic control.
Here's the thing, and this is sort of in my lane, but it also intersects in your lane, and it is as follows. Many members, and I'm talking about Republican members, they lost their seats. They're gone. They gave up their seats. They either lost their seats or left their seats.
Retired.
They're not coming back to vote for anything. So for all intents and purposes, there's no amazing new legislation that probably has any chance of passing. The only thing you could get done right now would be, I think, a bipartisan continuing resolution, because you need both houses. And as I say, there are a number of members of the majority party that have already said we're not coming back for anything. We're not voting. We're not coming back. So this really, it's almost as though the Democrats are in control of the House effective immediately.
If history prevails, if you'll remember, I mean, the media just does a remarkable job talking about government shutdowns, and it's on that news feed. You just never
ramping everybody up,
and as but historically, the shutdowns have lasted a couple of days at the most, and they really have had no significant impact on the market. I mean, the market has other things to focus on that are far more important than shutting the government down for a couple of days.
All right, so we're looking at this as almost a nothing burger for the markets, correct?
I think right now, Harry, this is not getting a lot of attention. That's for sure.
And Pocket Kreskin has already predicted the Fed will raise interest rates by 25 basis points tomorrow.
So the indications are that 70% of the economists and strategists out there are signaling that indicating there's going to be a rate hike.
Well, 100% of Pocket Kreskin does. So
okay,
I'm go with that indicator.
Now, the question is, what is going to happen in 2019? If they come in, if they make a statement.
Do you want Pocket Kreskin to weigh in again?
Sure.
You know what's going to happen. The Hurley in the morning. It's never been disproven. This will be the year before the 2020 election, and they will make a big move to crush Trump. I predict.
So you think that they're going to go more than 2 times?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I do. And that still leaves some of 2020 to meddle with too.
So most professionals are suggesting 2 hikes in 2019, bringing the target rate to 2.75 to 3%, and that level is consistent with what the Fed, indicates as a neutral rate, one that's not too accommodative and nor terribly restrictive. It's a statement. That's really what it gets down to.
So what they do tomorrow, plus what the words.
I think it's more the language than that 1 or 2 paragraphs. After when they announce what's going to happen. I think that's really more important.
Holiday online shopping is just crushing it, correct?
Well, yeah, we kind of just talked about that before the break.
But they're crushing it.
20% higher than a year ago.
Is that online or is that?
No, so this is online shopping. Like I said before, $80 billion has been spent over 5 weeks, starting November 1st. That's up 18.6% from a year ago. What's incredible is that phone or mobile transactions, Harry, accounted for almost 20% of that. So people are on their phones, shopping.
It's so easy.
And that's up almost 50% from a year ago. So the estimates are that online spending is going to hit $125 billion this year, and that's up about 15% from last year's shopping season. So the consumer, as of now, is really not terribly concerned about the stock market.
Halftime break. We're going to be right back. He is Chuck Malamut. I am Hurley in the morning. This is WPG. When Chuck comes back, and he talks about this a lot over the past 27 years on the program, timing the market versus staying in the market. And I think Chuck will agree. This is a time where this tests your resolve in that regard. We'll talk about that coming up next and a whole lot more. Our 12th topic, it's chilling to me. Can the 50 states handle a recession? One of the other items that I'm looking forward to getting to, because we've never covered this in the entire history of Chuck's program, solar panels, will be a part of this program today.
When you need to know, make the switch to WPG Talk Radio 104.1 and WPGTalkRadio.com. Only one South Jersey radio station brings you breaking news online, on Facebook and Twitter 24/7. Fox News Alerts.
This is a Fox News alert.
South Jersey traffic updates.
Looking good on the White Horse and Black Horse bikes.
And more. Set the first button on your car radio for WPG Talk Radio 104.1. South Jersey's talk station.
Shore Medical Center is proud to be your community hospital. They go to extraordinary lengths to deliver the highest quality of care in a safe and compassionate environment. They are pleased to provide 6 centers of excellence specializing in cancer, cardiovascular, neurological, orthopedic, emergency, and maternity and pediatric health care. And they are extremely proud of their affiliations with Penn Cardiology, St. Christopher's Hospital for Children, and Mayo Medical Laboratories. Shore is certified by the Joint Commission as an advanced primary stroke center and designated by the State of New Jersey's Department of Health and Senior Services as a primary stroke center. Shore is also certified by the Joint Commission for hip replacement, knee replacement, and spine surgery. Shore is one of only 26 hospitals in the country to earn Plaintree's prestigious gold level certification, and they earned an A rating for quality and safety from the Leapfrog Group for 8 consecutive rating periods. To schedule an appointment or for more information, visit shoremedicalcenter.org.
Shore Medical Center, healthcare at its best.
It's better at Burke Volkswagen in King May Courthouse. Better care, better service, better price. Over a century of better. Right now, take advantage of the Volkswagen lease specials. Burke is offering a 2019 Volkswagen Jetta S manual at $291 a month for 36 months. Model number V16737. 0 down, 0 first payment. Just in time for the holiday. Ultra low mile lease. 7.5 thousand per year, equal 22,500. 20 cents over mile charge. Dealer dock fee included. Tax tags and VW acquisition fee all included. Lease end value $11,923.90. Total lease payments $10,476. This does include a $500 Visa card for the holiday, in stock unit only.
This is Doug Burke. Let us show you why for over 105 years and 4 generations it's better at Burke. See us off exit 10 of the Garden State Parkway or at burkemotorgroup.com.
Find out why it's better at Burke VW. Better care, better service, better price. Over a century of better. Exit 10 off the Garden State Parkway in Cape May Courthouse.
The Army National Guard is committed to keeping the country safe and our communities secure. Composed of hundreds of thousands of citizen soldiers from all walks of life and in every corner of America, the Guard is always ready to respond to local or national emergencies. The Army National Guard reacts to domestic operations in each of America's 54 states and territories, including Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Guam, and the District of Columbia. Each state National Guard's unique domestic role is to act as the first line of defense in support of civil authorities in their state. The Guard's emergency responses include search and rescue missions for floods, combating wildfires, hurricane and tornado recovery, and the presidential inauguration. The Army National Guard. We are always ready. We are always there. And in every state and territory, we stand guard for our communities. To learn more, log on to nationalguard.com.
Sponsored by the New Jersey Army National Guard. Aired by the New Jersey Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Atlantic City's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
33 minutes past the hour. Chuck, one of the most important items that you address on a year-round basis, and I think it is especially illuminating when you see the volatility that we've had, because this requires discipline and it requires the confidence. Timing the market versus staying in the market.
So, Harry, think about this for a second. We have, worked through some very, very challenging days. And the month of December, as I mentioned to you earlier, is probably the worst December we've seen basically to date. But, if you miss an up day, you're going to get punished, and pretty significantly. So think about this. In the S&P 500, 8 of the 10 biggest up days that we have had over the last 10 years occurred within 1 month of the 10 biggest down days. So I would venture to say, what we have worked through so far in December are some pretty difficult down days. So if history is any indication of the future, then, when you don't want to be there, you need to be there, if that makes any sense at all.
Well, I think it makes perfect sense, because if you bail, you insure your losses.
And the other thing to think about is if an investor missed, the 5 best days over the last 10 years, their total return would be down by a third. I mean, think about it. Let's assume for a minute you're earning, you earned, 10% if you stayed in. You lop off a third of that. So so you're earning like 6 3/4, or some, because you missed 5 days. I mean,
if you didn't know that was true, you almost couldn't believe that that's true. Isn't that an amazing statement, that so few days have such an enormous impact?
Well, what it is, because what will happen is you'll get a day, you'll get an event, you'll get a number of things that'll happen, and as a result of that, the market will basically take hold, and it's sort of like a runaway freight train, if that makes any sense. You just can't get out of the way, because you have money just piling in and sort of piling onto those onto the indices. So I think if there's anything that your listeners need to be aware of, is one of those facts that I just covered with you. But more importantly, we are in the midst of tax loss selling or tax harvesting, and there are some significant capital gains being paid out from some of the very large cap growth mutual funds. And you really need to get a handle on it, because you probably can do some tax harvesting to eliminate or reduce those gains and reduce your taxes.
Chuck, you always have an interesting program, but your last 6 questions or agenda items, I just absolutely can't wait to hear your analysis of it. And this one will bring it right home here to our beloved Garden State, New Jersey, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we are.
I think this got missed by probably 3/4 of the population of the state of New Jersey. In 2017, they passed a law called the Lottery Enterprise Contribution Act. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
No, but it sounds terrible.
And what that law was created to do, it redirects the proceeds from the state's lottery to the state's pension system for 30 years.
I have heard of this.
So the lottery funds, about $1 billion annually, was supporting, education K through 12 in New Jersey. So, they've moved basically, a fair amount of money away from funding for education to take care of unfunded pension liabilities.
Terrible.
And
it's actually despicable.
I don't know, Harry, if I mean, this was obviously, it was a year ago. It was done in 2017, but I think if you polled your listeners, probably 3/4 of them would say, "What are you talking about? I never heard of such a thing."
Yeah, it's because they do this stuff almost in secret. The thing about this that's so terrible is then you're going to see a degradation on the public education side. So then really tough decisions are going to have to be made, probably at the local level, where people are already overburdened, where 50 to 60 some percent of their local purpose tax is school purpose tax oriented. This is a day of reckoning coming, because what they're going to say is, now, okay, we're funding the unfunded pension liability,
but we need more
that's
cash.
completely out of control. But now we need money for education,
right?
And I think it's a typical political just scheme where they need that revenue because they all were mayors and council people for 4 years, and then they took a $100,000 a year job, and then they get to pension retirement year. It's all been a scam on the backs of the taxpayers. That's why we have such an unfunded pension liability, because they've been ripping us off. Now, when you go and you now put that money towards that, all right, so now you think you fix that. Now we're going to have a public
shortfall.
Education
Shortfall.
Liability.
Yeah, and so it's I don't want to sound terribly repetitive, because we've talked about this too many times, and it just goes totally, everybody ignores it. They kind of kick the can down the road. Nobody wants to take control. Nobody wants to fix Trenton. And if, you can't run a business the way Trenton runs the state. And I don't care, look, I'm not taking a shot at any politician, at any municipality, at any city, the fact of the matter is that you think about how many people live in the state of New Jersey and the kind of taxes they pay, whether it is property taxes or state income taxes, and the state can't make ends meet.
Well, and as you know, Chuck, and we're going to get into California in a couple of agenda items from now, but New Jersey is leading the nation right now in terms of people leaving the state. So we have over 9 million people, small state in terms of geography, but very densely populated. And right now we have record wealth flight. And, of course, that's also going to have – the reason that's a good topic for your show is that will have a financial impact.
Absolutely.
Less revenue.
You know, I oftentimes talk to people and we talk about, well, maybe they should move, consider, to a more tax-friendly state. And I oftentimes heard, well, I love it here.
That's the truth. That's the hook. That's the hook. We love our state. We're not so happy
I'm not so sure I love 20-degree weathers with 4 or 5 inches of snow.
True.
Where I can be in Florida, where it's 75 or 80,
with a lot lower taxes.
Mostly sunny and a little bit of rain to deal with on a day-to-day basis, maybe. But I guess you're an optimist. We're all different. We're all different.
Now we're going to bring California into this, and it's a first-time topic for the Chuck Malamut program. California housing, and then you have solar panels are for real. I do want to slip one quick thing in, since I do every month, and we're going to be doing it in the not-too-distant future again with All Season Solar, our regular program that we do with them. We stay on top of these things, and I'm a solar client, as you know, Chuck. I'm an energy producer, but New Jersey is second in the country, only behind California in solar energy. We are number 2.
So here's what's happening in California, and this got a fair amount of press, but it pretty much went away. They are the first state in the nation that are going to require solar panels with new home construction.
Yep.
And that's going to start in the year 2020. So this vote was held in May of this past year. The California Energy Commission. And that's going to add about $9,500 of additional cost, for a new home. But here's what's interesting. I mean, you just cited New Jersey, California, the two largest with respect to solar power. Solar power, Harry, only generated 1.3% of electricity in the country in 2017. So, and you see a lot of solar panels on roofs. You see solar panel farms. But it really, and there's been a lot of discussion about it. I mean, you have your monthly show, but it really hasn't made much of an impact.
I totally concur. I think we're at 3% in New Jersey. California is maybe the same or a little bit more percentage-wise. So it's kind of interesting that 97 to 99, 98 point some percent are not even doing it, and yet disproportionately it does receive a lot of attention.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in the state of California because the next topic we want to kind of talk about.
By the way, go back as half a step. I just want to say this before we get off of this topic. I'm not a fan of these mandates. I love solar. I am a solar person, but I did that because I wanted to do it. I looked at SRECs. I looked at fixing my energy costs, and there were a lot of advantages to doing it, so I made the decision to do it. I think it's, again, government overreaching when they make it a requirement that you have to have it. If you want it, you can get it.
But now,
now they're making
you said
it
it perfectly. So in 2020, you're gonna have solar panels, like it or not, in the state of California. It's going to cost you another $10,000 to have that.
And some people just don't want it. Now we get to, and it's sort of a byproduct of a lot of this stuff. They want to tax people 5 years back retroactively. How many people would love to receive a new tax bill for 2013?
So think about this for a second. You take Seattle.
Yeah.
The city of Seattle, as for instance. I mean, there's not a lot of sunshine there.
No.
And there's a lot of rain. Now, would that work? How, if the state of Washington came out and said, look, we're going to require solar panels, I mean,
you'd almost need a subsidy in order to make it happen.
I mean, I can't imagine whatever. I'm just kind of throwing that out there, Harry.
That's interesting. How about this one, though? Because this is a byproduct of a lot of what we're talking about, moving out of California.
Yeah, so as you mentioned before, there's been a flight of equity and a continual flight of wealth out of New Jersey to, more tax-friendly states. And, so a recent survey that was done in the city of San Francisco, which is a very expensive place to live. Almost 50% of the residents surveyed said they plan to move from California within the next few years because of the cost of housing and traffic.
Right. And businesses have opened up in California to help people move. That's what a cottage industry has been formed, because so many people want to leave. People have opened up specialty businesses to help navigate states. They'll make recommendations where there's less taxes, quality of life, schools, everything. Businesses have opened up to help you leave.
Yeah, well,
it's pretty bad.
Why not?
I know. We're going to have it here.
Absolutely. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already.
I agree. If I wasn't in love with what I do, I guarantee you there is great money to be made opening up a company like that.
But think about it. You could spend a fair amount of your time away from here and still be connected.
Yes.
I mean, I do understand the fact that you want to be out in the community, and you have certain obligations that you want and need to fulfill, but you don't need to be here 365.
Rush Limbaugh got so tired of what was going on in New York and New York City in particular, economically and otherwise, punitive and all these different things. He moved his whole ship to Florida.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
So early in the morning from Tampa. How's that sound?
And nobody would even have to know. I mean,
No.
when I'm doing some of my national work, sometimes I'm there, but it doesn't matter. Here, there, it doesn't matter. And Chuck, there are many people, unless there's a license involved and you physically have to be within the state that you're in, a lot of people listening right now do jobs that they could do portable.
Exactly. And that's obviously.
I think you're going to see more of that.
It will continue. I mean, you look at our industry. You can work. You could work from anywhere. I mean, you obviously need your licenses. You need your compliance. I mean, there's all checks and balances that are out there. But you could be anywhere working. It doesn't much matter.
It's very interesting. I think you're going to see more of that. Chuck, please tell our listeners, we have 3 more agenda items, if you'll stay for a little overtime. Please tell your listeners that the American dream is still attainable in America.
It is, and it has returned, Harry, to a certain extent. So, twice as...
What is the American dream? Is it owning a home?
Owning a home.
Okay.
So twice as many American homeowners were created last year as had been created in the previous 10 years. So you think about that. 1 year versus 10.
Not an accident.
The number of U.S. Homeowners grew by 1.8 million over that time period. It's up to now 78 million. And that was as of the end of June this past year. And that doubled what was happening, the less than 1 million new homeowners that were added over the same decade. So home ownership, has increased.
Is that based by the home, or, for example,
the home? Not so much.
See, that's important, because if it's Harry and Margie or Chuck and Pam, then that's two homeowners within 78. But it's not. It's the actual home. So 78 million homes out of about 320 million Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And if you say, what's the average?
3 point.
Is it over 3 in a household?
I think two,
so
high 2s, low 3s.
So if we just said 3, then, Chuck, you're literally looking at 240 million out of 320 million Americans are in a home that's owned.
Now, the only thing, I mean, if I kind of could fast forward this, I'd be real curious to see what this looks like a year from now, because as we mentioned, just in this show and previous to today, is the fact that home building or construction is starting to slow down. So I wonder if this is sort of a one-off, or are we really going to be continuing that into the future of growing home ownership? So I'm hoping it's not a one-off, Harry. I'm hoping that we can deliver the American dream, so to speak.
Here's one that seems to make your cut list many times, and I think we're going to be talking about this for a lot of years to come, and especially when baby boomers like you and I, Chuck, come into the fold, because I believe it's the breaking point of Social Security is the baby boomers. I hope I'm wrong. But since I was a young 20-something contributor, I thought this is exactly the kind of program that's been around forever that's going to break when it's my turn. I've always felt that way, Chuck. The Social Security dilemma. Does it continue?
Well, Harry, I don't think it's going to break during your lifetime. But the one thing to look at, the total cost of Social Security this year, 2018, is about $1.003 trillion.
Woo.
Okay, that's the projection. The expectation of the income they're going to receive to fund that program, $1.001 trillion. Now, what's a few decimal places here or there? But when you start with a trillion, it adds up to serious money. So it's the first deficit we have seen since 1982.
And listen to this one, Chuck. That's staggering. So I'm not glancing past that. But I did a little bit of homework for your program. Another topic that you've been one of the best in the country at remembering to remember. The level of student debt in our country has more than doubled since the end of the Great Recession in 2009. We're talking about a decade, not even a decade. It's doubled. It is now $1.465 trillion. $1.465 trillion. With those borrowing during 2012 defaulting faster than in any other year since that time, and that most of the students now are aged 24 to 33. So they've been in the workforce for a while, we hope. And, of course, their parents are on the hook with many of these being Parent Plus loans. This is also a national emergency.
It is. We haven't talked about it, it seems, in several weeks, but, for sure. And as a parent with students in college, it just becomes somewhat irritating, writing those checks every semester. You work so hard to save. You open the 529 accounts. The great news about the 529s is that all the growth is tax-free as long as it's being used for higher education, room tuition, books, board, et cetera, et cetera. And, recently, that has changed somewhat. It was considered higher education college. Now it's private school where you can fund up to $10,000 per year. But the fact of the matter is, it's like you can't go to your advertisers and say, guys and gals, I'm going to increase your rates by 5 or 7%.
Every year.
Every year, regardless of what CPI or inflation is. And, the tuition bill rolls around and it's 3, 5, 7% higher than it was a year ago.
And we've talked about how they make it now that you can do it in 4, but it's basically 5 years now.
Harry, look.
I know. I'm just trying to be beyond fair for your program. But it's basically you need 5 years. We have a lot of experience in this, Chuck, and some really smart people. And it's basically a 5-year thing. And then, of course, it got to the point where the college degree wasn't even enough. You need to go to the next one and the next one, the next one. So it almost doesn't end. Now, the last item on your agenda, and I hate it, can the 50 states handle a recession?
Well, Harry, I don't sound like Debbie Downer here, but unfortunately, 30 of the 50 states at this point in time do not have sufficient reserves set aside to absorb any sort of financial impact of an economic recession. So what will that mean? If they are not prepared, it's going to force the states to either raise taxes, raise fees, or reduce benefits. So let me ask you, you have 3, it's a multiple choice question I just asked you. Are you going to raise your taxes? Are you going to raise your fees? Or are you going to reduce your benefits? Two of three work.
Pick your poison.
Yeah, so chances are the easy way out is
hemlock, arsenic.
Both will work. The easy way out is to raise taxes and to raise fees, and the most difficult thing is to reduce your benefits. Now, we just had this whole discussion just earlier this morning, about the state of New Jersey. I mean, the benefits won't be reduced. So
30 seconds closing comment.
So the taxpayers will be forced to pay more. So Harry, look, I know we're going to change the schedule a little bit for the holidays or for Christmas. I want to wish you and your family and your listeners a wonderful Christmas. It's hard to believe it's a week away. We'll come back, I think, in a couple of days after Christmas. I want to talk a little bit about the predictions we put out in the beginning of 2018 and see how they worked out, and talk a little about 2019. And, that's, I think we said, a week from Thursday, Friday of next week?
Yes.
A lot can happen between now and then. So
until then, Chuck.
Harry, thanks for having me.
You got it. We're going to, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're reconvening next Friday with Chuck. We're not going to be here on Christmas, obviously, but we don't want to miss Chuck's program. So Chuck will be on right before Gary Aldridge. 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. We'll be back in a moment. Dr. Newkirk will occupy very, very nicely the next 30 minutes of our broadcast, then 35 minutes wide open forum to close out the program.
Early in the morning, WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by the law offices of Richard A. Stoloff, Linwood, and Philadelphia.
If you're traveling over the holidays, preparing in advance can help you avoid some of the toughest travel pitfalls. For a longer trip, pack some healthy meals along with extra snacks. Avoid sodas and sugary drinks and opt for lots of water, which not only hydrates you, but also helps curb hunger. And do your best to avoid germs. Dr. Mehmet Oz of the Dr. Oz Show calls airplanes incubators for illness. He advises us to pack a hand sanitizer and use it early and often, which can reduce our chance of getting sick by 50%. And find ways to keep moving. Take a break, get out of the car, get up from your seat on a plane or a train. With a little preparation, we can maintain good health while traveling. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update, wishing you a happy and healthy holiday and New Year.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by the law offices of Richard A. Stoloff in Linwood. Attention you expect, results you deserve.
This is Stacy Lilliston from number 1 Lilliston Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Millville.
And I'm Ivan Nelson. Are you looking for a car, but you're worried about your credit?
Here at number 1 Lilliston Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, we know bad things sometimes happen to good people, and we're here to help.
We have the credit resources to be able to say yes, even when others said no.
With 250 vehicles in stock at all times, including tons of brand new Chryslers, Dodges, Jeeps, and Rams, you're sure to find a vehicle that fits your budget.
And if you've gone through bankruptcy and have been discharged, you're approved.
So if you're looking for a car, but you're worried about your credit, just remember, we're here to help. You'll do better at the big dealer, number 1 Lilliston Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
The Tri-State's number 1 Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer. We're on North 2nd Street in Millville, online at Lilliston.com.
Number 1 based on 2015 MPL in the Mid-Atlantic Business Center per Chrysler's own reports. Price includes all costs borne by consumer except tax, title, and license fees.
Message and data rates may apply. T&C and privacy terms can be found at babbel.com/terms. Please don't text and drive.
Have you ever wanted to speak another language? Whether you want to speak Spanish, French, or German, Babbel's 10 to 15-minute lessons can get you speaking confidently in your new language within weeks.
I just started learning Spanish with Babbel, and it's really helping me with my pronunciation.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres? Haha, I got it! I'm amazed how confidently I speak Spanish now. I wish I had tried Babbel sooner.
Babbel's award-winning technology gets you speaking right away. And best of all, you'll remember what you've learned. No wonder Babbel is the number 1 selling language learning app in Europe. Try it for yourself and see why Babbel is the quick way to get conversational in a new language, like Spanish, German, Portuguese, and more. You can try Babbel for free. Download the app or text TRAVEL to 484848. Text TRAVEL to 484848 to try Babbel for free. That's TRAVEL to 484848.
Hi, it's Mark Levin. Join me at 6 this evening. Now back to the mayor of the morning, Harry Hurley, on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Don't go away. We're at 1 minute before the top of the hour. Dr. Mark Newkirk is standing by next. There's the music. All is well. Dr. Newkirk is the owner, the operator of Newkirk Family Veterinarians, a trusted name in pet care for 4 decades. The official, the exclusive veterinarian for the Hurley in the Morning program at 3085 English Creek Avenue in Egg Harbor Township. On the web at NewkirkFamilyVeterinarians.com. Hey, I have some great news. This is a program that we've been planning for a number of days and the director just texted me back. Vince Kane, who we met over the phone I think it was last Thursday or Friday, he's the medical center director for the Wilmington VA. He will be our guest for the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. We are jam-packed. James Toto, now we broke this issue several weeks ago about or a week or more ago, about the veterans getting it stuck to them and not being able to get the benefits they deserve.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ 97.3 HD3 Millville. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
We'll be talking to James about that tomorrow at 7.
It's sentencing day for Michael Flynn. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and President Trump tweeted, "Good luck" to the national security advisor he fired. Flynn lied to the FBI, then cooperated with the special counsel's Russia probe. The president again called that a witch hunt and hoax. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, U.S. District Court Judge Emmett Sullivan will sentence Flynn here in Washington. His lawyers have asked him to consider the circumstances surrounding a January 2017 interview with FBI agents.